most popular song by the Big Bucks clique by far is a track called Big Bucks Anthem, which features Von together with another Big Bucks rapper called Elo B, or simply Elo. The music video for the song now has over 2 million views, but unlike Von and Trey, Elo's music career consisted of only a couple of songs that were dropped few and far in between, and more than music, Elo would become known in the streets as a shooter who wasn't afraid to rap about his gangbanging activities. He was apparently the section's top hitter and had an impressive collection of customized guns, seemingly being obsessed with guns and rapping about them a lot. His Instagram also has no posts, but plenty of saved stories that show him toting guns and money, and he had a lot of beef with people he used to be cool with some even claiming that he was the reason that the Six Deuce Crips had become so hated in St. Louis, while others claimed him to have been the one to spark the latest war between the Rollin' 60s and the Six Deuces. But to understand why Elo would become so hated, we have to go all the way back to where the animosity between these two sides first became deadly. In 2016, a young man called Rookie, also known as Ruger Rock or Rook 4, was a popular 17-year-old from the north side of St. Louis. Rookie and his friends repped a clique called OTF, with one of these friends seemingly being none other than Elo B, or Elijah OTF as he was going by at the time. On around the 5th of December 2016, at around 6:30 p.m, Rookie and two friends were driving north on the 5400 block of Riverview Boulevard, after just leaving their school, the Northwest Academy of Law, where they had been watching a basketball game, when another car reportedly drove close to their car and someone inside opened fire. Rookie, real name Damani H, would pass away from his injuries, while his friends would fortunately end up surviving the attack. Rookie's death was a major loss to the people close to him, and they started a clique known as Rookie Gang in his honor, while Elo too was heartbroken, wishing that he could bring his friend back, whilst promising that he would push for Rookie, the meaning of that not being entirely clear. At the time, Rookie's murder would go unsolved, but if online rumors are to be believed, Rookie was killed by none other than KB6, 57 Floyd's biggest rapper, with some even claiming that certain songs like the song Long Live KB6 from the rap group Sixers confirms that KB did indeed kill Rookie, with one Redditor pointing out specific lyrics that supposedly confirm this claim, like the lyric about KB catching someone on a one-way street, although Rookie wasn't actually killed on a one-way street but on Riverview Boulevard, a major two-way arterial road that runs through the northwestern part of the city. However, there is a known one-way street where KB may have indeed caught a body, which we'll discuss later on. But whoever was behind the murder of Rookie, his death must have flipped a switch in Elo, who would allegedly catch a body of his own a few years later in October 2018, when 18-year-old Kamal Jackson Jr., known in the streets as Elo B Slime, was gunned down in a drive-by shooting on the 10300 block of Lilac Avenue. Elo B Slime was part of a clique known as BBG or Buki Bucky Gang, who was seemingly cool with Big Bucks back in the day before falling out for some reason and becoming each other's biggest enemies. And as the wildest rumor goes, after shooting Slime, Elo would get out of the car and grab the headband from him that had the big letters spelling BBG, which he would then put on himself and take a picture that he posted online. Elo B Slime was allegedly the brother of a guy known as Trey Fours, and apparently also cousins with KB6 from Floyd. This murder, if true, explains why Elo was so hated by his ops and would be dissed relentlessly in songs from rappers tied to both BBG and the Six. There have also been rumors that Elo may have killed an older member from the Six from the Acme Mob set called KO, real name Dion Woods, who was killed in May 2019 in a quadruple shooting in one of the blocks claimed by the Six, this shooting also claiming the life of another person. KO is a respected name, with many younger members often paying their respects to him. In fact, some people on Reddit have even actually claimed that KO was the father of the new generation rapper Man 6, or his cousin. Although this hasn't been confirmed, Man has heavily repped KO on his social media and music and merches it on his life all the time. Others have disputed the claims that Elo was actually behind this shooting, suggesting that he was actually locked up at the time, with the real culprits possibly being the 30 Deep clique. But what is for certain is that later that same year, Elo B's side would experience another major loss, when in October 2019, a member of the Big Bucks, known as Caleb Twos, real name Caleb Smith, was gunned down in an alley on the 8300 block of Strathmore Place, about 2 miles away from 26 Solway's Hood.
Here in this alley, right here behind me, this is where the shooting took place. Right behind that police car is where the victim's body is lying right now, just at Strathmore Place. A number of people said that they heard the gunshots and described the sound as coming from 2 different calibers of guns. The police were putting out evidence markers in the alley as people who lived nearby watched. Witnesses told us that they saw the dead body of a man in his 20s lying in the alley on the north side of Strathmore. There was a search in the neighborhood for suspects, and a witness told me that officers checked nearby homes to make sure that none of those suspects was hiding in a home. One man was on his porch nearby with his 2-year-old daughter when he heard the gunfire.
It was like maybe 7 or 8, 9 of them, and then there was an exchange of a small caliber gun.
Already the following day, the police would make a breakthrough, arresting 19-year-old Darion Thomas for the murder, who was better known in the streets as D-Baby, member of the Six.
An update to a story we first brought you as breaking news at 10. A man now faces a murder charge after a 17-year-old was found shot to death in a Jennings alley. Darian Thomas is charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing Caleb Smith. According to court documents, Thomas and another man chased Smith into an alley on Strathmore Place near West Florissant. The man Thomas was with shot at Smith, but police say Thomas is the one who killed the teenager. His bond is set at $1 million.
But the police wouldn't stop there, and eventually in 2021, 2 more people from the 6 were charged with the murder of Caleb, including Christopher Williams, aka Lassie, and Jalen Sims, aka Pac-Man, who was seemingly a close friend of KB6. It would turn out that this was only one of the many serious charges that Sims had been collecting, because already in November of 2019, he would be arrested and charged with car break-ins.
New tonight, a serial criminal busted in West County. The arrest caught News 4's attention because of the suspect's rap sheet. Jalen Sims is one of 3 men arrested for breaking into cars in Chesterfield. That took place just off Chesterfield Parkway. It's worth noting that's just down the street from the Chesterfield Police Headquarters.
It's literally almost right across the street from our police station, so bad choice of the criminals for that because, again, our guys were right there and we had several officers in the area very quickly.
News 4 found Sims is no stranger to the law. He's done time for burglary, unlawful use of a weapon, and resisting arrest. A source tells us other charges will be coming.
Which was followed by 2 charges of armed carjacking, one of these leading to the death of a man, which Sims would plead guilty, receiving a 25-year sentence. Meanwhile, after Caleb's death, members of 26 Solway and Big Bucks would form a clique in his honor called the Caleb Gang. And although there are more people who have died on both sides of this rivalry, it was likely that these losses would help explain a later tragic incident that would end up happening during the summer of 2020. The year 2020 in St. Louis wasn't just the deadliest year in the city's history since the 70s, but the deadliest in the entire country's history over the past 60 years when it comes to cities with over 250,000 inhabitants. Unfortunately, the war between the 6 and 26 Solway was about to reach its brutal culmination that year, leading to one of the most insane incidents in the history of St. Louis drill. It was Wednesday, July the 29th, 2020, and KB6 and his partners were outside in the Walnut Park West neighborhood, hanging in their hood on the infamous Floyd Avenue in the heart of the 6. As local news would report, July had been the deadliest month of this already deadly year, with 50 murders that month, making up an insane 1/3 of the year's overall homicide tally at that point. And like always, the great majority of these homicides had taken place in North City. A bit before 1:45 p.m, a stolen car would creep through the neighborhood with 3 armed men inside. This car would drive down the 5500 block of Floyd Avenue, and eventually the people inside that car would find what they were looking for, spotting KB6 himself, real name Malik Taylor, seemingly on his own, making him look like an easy target. The people in the car would open fire, hitting KB, who would fall to the ground next to some parked cars and pass away at the scene. That was only the beginning of what was about to transpire, because after the trio in the car had shot and killed KB, his friends, who were seemingly hanging somewhere close by, would rush to the scene and immediately open fire on the car with the 3 assailants. What happened next has been open to intense debate, but according to one version of the story, the person sitting on the front passenger seat was 18-year-old Daysav, real name Dijon Nearing. He would attempt to shoot at the people taking aim at the car, and by accident would end up shooting and killing the driver of the car, Big Bucks Elo himself, real name Elijah McKinney, while other versions claim that it was either KB6 himself who was able to take aim at Elo B and shoot him dead, or that he was even able to kill both Elo and Daysav before succumbing to his injuries. Another theory is that the people that came to KB's help actually ended up shooting and killing Elo. Von would also later discuss the events of that day in his song Fallen Soldiers, where he rapped that Elo would have made it home if Von had been with him, but in any case, it was mission completed because KB lost his life and Elo got his revenge for Rookie. Von would also seemingly claim that KB didn't kill Elo, and that he knows what actually happened, but it's nothing to talk about, possibly implying that it was indeed Daysav who killed his own friend by accident. Although according to official news sources, it was in fact the people on the street who likely killed Elo, as well as then killing Daysav, who was seemingly gunned down while attempting to escape the scene on foot, as his body was found outside the car, with the rapper Nudie 6 later posting a picture of his body at the scene on social media. Meanwhile, there was the 3rd assailant who was sitting in the back seat of the car, 17-year-old Josh, aka Tay2's, real name Joshua Amerson, who had somehow managed to escape the situation on foot even after getting shot himself. So when the smoke settled, 3 people were dead, including KB6, Big Bucks Elo, and his friend Daysav, while Josh was found injured nearby the scene by the authorities and taken to the hospital. Fox 2 News St. Louis would report on the incident live from the murder scene, highlighting how the shooting had taken place at an already extremely violent period for the city.
In less than 42 hours, 5 people have died on the streets of St. Louis.
Yeah, Vic, of the 3 men who were shot and killed in North City this afternoon are determined to be officially homicides. That means 50 people have been murdered so far in the month of July in the city, and the month isn't over yet. The neighborhood north of Interstate 70, just west of Riverview, shots rang out in large numbers around 1:45 this afternoon. When the bullet stopped flying, 3 people were dead, 1 was wounded. He is hospitalized with his condition unknown this afternoon. Major Mary Warnicki says they've recovered a lot of evidence. In the middle of all the shooting, it appears a car plowed into some parked vehicles. One of the dead victims was found in one of the cars. Now, this all happened in front of the homes on the block of Foy.
Footage of KB laying next to the car after the shootout was uploaded to Reddit after being posted as a story by Big Bucks members. Scenes were captured and published by the St. Louis Dispatch, showing women breaking down at the scene, describing it as a drive-by shooting, while Washington Post, via Associated Press, published a picture showing the scene taped off. But while Josh had miraculously survived the shootout, things weren't over for him, because later in 2020, he would be charged with not just the murder of KB, but also the murders of Elo and Desav, since he was the only surviving member from the party who had been the aggressors in the incident. This was ultimately a sad loss for all sides, and it really shows you just how much of a dead end this cycle of gang violence truly can be. However, shockingly, a few years later in 2023, the charges were suddenly dropped due to constant problems with witness cooperation in the case. While Josh had made the case that KB6 fired first, and they simply returned fire in self-defense, with prosecutors even being unable to pin down witnesses to testify against that version of events, describing most of the witnesses as in the wind, clearly a wider issue in the city. But Josh wouldn't get to celebrate for long, because only days later, police would close in on him once again, this time arresting him on drug and gun charges, after he had tried to flee in true St. Louis style, taking the cops on a high-speed chase that would end in a spike strip. Following the failed escape attempt, the police would find Josh in possession of an illegal weapon, as well as 800 pills in the car that was believed to be laced with fentanyl. It seems that the feds would eventually take over the case, and in 2024, Josh would end up doing a plea deal and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Afterwards, some wild conspiracy theories would surface on Reddit, with one person claiming that it was in fact 30 Deep Grimy who had put money on KB's head due to his own side's war with the Six and the disses that KB had sent his way, which Elo had then tried to collect with deadly consequences. Regardless, in the end, both sides of the war would be mourning the loss of their friends, and comments on Reddit would point out how this drill, where nearly everybody died, is really not something to brag about. Members of 26 Solway would be seen in Long Live Elo shirts after his funeral, while Big Bucks Von actually reshared pictures of Elo B holding the gun alleged to have been used to kill KB6, calling it the KB6 Soul Taker. And posts would circulate on Reddit stating that the city turned against him, but praising him for remaining in the city despite the pressure from the Opps. Von and Trey would discuss how the death of Elo B affected them in an interview with the STL platform Views from the Arch, making it clear that Elo B was a problem in the streets.
Elo B.
He was a problem.
I was just gonna say, like, it seemed like he evidently was, known.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he got a lot of love and he also got a lot of hate.
Von would explain how Elo was a loose cannon in the streets and would go to war, right or wrong.
Elo, man, he just one of them. Man, he one of them brothers. Shit, Elo is Elo, so that's basically what it is. Like, so he one of them brothers that, like, man, like, you ain't telling him, like I ain't gonna fake it. Like, you not telling him the sky blue, and you know it's blue, man. Cause, like, I don't know, cause you ain't telling Elo. I ain't gonna fake it, cause the sky blue, you know it's blue, and he tell you it's green, you standing on it. Like, on my mom, like, he going for his green. Nobody ain't telling him. He gonna go to war about it. On my mom, like, basically, just yeah. Man, Elo just wild, cuz, but he just like, yeah.
Elo was the problem, though. They do love and hate him, but they hate him for a reason.
But the love and hate, I love all this, because they keep it publicity, they keep his name alive, everybody do.
Trey would explain the day that Elo B lost his life was actually the same day that he was released from jail.
You said that when you on your first day out, was that the day that he passed?
Oh, yeah. First day I had got out of DYS, he had died.
How was that feeling?
Just lost for real, cause like it's a good thing I got out, then a bad thing, just lost.
Later in the interview, after being asked how much dope they put in a wood, they would diss KB6, saying they smoke him.
What y'all be stuffing in y'all woods?
K. Well, I call him K.
I was talking about like a 3.5.
They're like a 3.5. No, I don't know. I just feel it till it stop. We smoke out the piece, so we don't never know.
For real, and just put it in there till it's a nice amount. Big fat wood.
Eerily, the night after that shootout took place, which took the lives of both KB6 and Elo B, a new song from Elo B was uploaded to YouTube at 10 PM, meaning that it was recorded and scheduled for upload before this shootout happened, and in a crazy twist of fate, it went on to become the biggest hit from 26 Solway to this date. This was the track Big Bucks Anthem, which was released together with a music video that had been edited to pay tribute to Elo. Shockingly, Elo would practically predict his own fate on the song, first shouting out his dead friend, allegedly killed by KB, before rapping how he might crash out and bounce out on Floyd, the street that his Opps are from and very place he would indeed end up losing his life. People in the comments would react to the craziness of this premonition, commenting how he really did crash out on Floyd like he said in the song. People in the comments would also pay their respects to Elo, saying that he stood on all the stuff that he rapped about and went out the same day as he dropped the song, rapping how he was living the same way. Some people commented it's crazy how many people died behind this song, as eventually the people close to KB from his hood's numerous alliances would decide to capitalize on this tragedy, making a disrespectful reply on the same beat as the Big Bucks anthem, which would ultimately lead to another rapper losing his life far too young.